Dude, I was watching this crazy ass old YouTube video. It was interviews with like elderly people throughout the US, and it was taken in the 1920s, like 1929. And so like they're recording these people that are 60, 70, 80 years old. I think one of them was like over 100 in here. So you think like if this was taken in 1929 and they're like 100, these motherfuckers are like, this is people from the 1800s.
Yeah,
like,
seriously.
holy shit. Like they're like, they knew people that pretty much started this country.
Oh yeah, that's true.
You know
That's
what I
crazy.
mean? And so
Is this like
it was
videos? Like
yeah,
video recordings?
videos. I didn't even know they had videos in the 1800s.
That's insane.
It was crazy to hear a lot of them speak. Like they asked one of them about the future, and they're like, I don't really worry about the future. I'm just gonna live as long as I can and be happy. I was like, God damn, like it's so simplistic, you know? Like they didn't have all the same distractions and shit that we do today. In fact, I would say that was the number one biggest takeaway for me when I was watching this, is that these people in their like 70s and 80s, they were so mentally fit for their age when you compare them to today's standards. Like they were so coherent. They were just
woke,
so
dude.
mentally sound. Yeah. Like they're not. Why do you think
We're
they
no longer
were
training that part of our brains and things like our phones and computers are part of our brains, you know?
it's making us
And-
like way stupider?
I don't know. I think maybe just because like our memories and things are just kind of going downhill due to us just pulling up our phone for everything, you know?
Like a muscle that you're not using.
Yeah.
So
something
you
like that.
you it's like we offloaded our brain to the cloud. And
Yeah.
and so because we don't have to use it that much, we use the device as like a crutch. Like there was a time when you'd ask yourself, "Oh, I wonder what film so and so had been in," and that was it. Like you're just stuck wondering. You know what I mean? Like it ends right there. Like now you have a thought that pops in your head and you could immediately reach in your pocket and then just know the answer.
I know.
You know?
It's great though. I love it.
It's great, and it's not great because you don't feel like you actually have to acquire any knowledge or wisdom.
Yeah.
Why do I need to tax my brain to remember things because it's just available anytime I need it? Don't you think that there comes a cost with that?
Yeah, I think so. But do you think it inhibits like, you know, creativity and stuff? Curiosity maybe?
I think it does. I totally think it does.
But
I think
then at
it,
the same time, I think it does. I agree with you. But then at the same time, I also think it doesn't, because then you like are able to see what other people are doing, you know, like on Reddit or subreddits or whatever. So you all of a sudden are like, oh, maybe I could try and get creative with it, like this person, or do something else similar. Or I don't know, maybe not. I don't know. Maybe it does actually inhibit creativity.
I think you may be right in the sense that it opens up new avenues to explore. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, probably.
Like if you have any kind of curiosity in a subject, you can explore it to absolute insane depths.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
so now people are able to get into like weird niche things, like very obscure stuff, and become almost experts on any topic if they really choose to. In some ways, like that's pretty cool, because then you get more exposure, more minds thinking about like new ideas and new things that otherwise were hard to get to. Like information that was hard to get access to is now super easy to get. And so you got more
The
people
information
turned on to this
superhighway.
information. And so exactly. And so you got people going down all kinds of crazy ass roads right now, and you are seeing this explosion of creativity. I think that the internet has done that for sure. That we're almost living in like a new renaissance, so to speak.
Oh yeah, dude, it's revolutionary right now. Like I've been reading this book called The Innovators, by Walter Isaacson, and they talk about how at the beginning of the book they first talk about like back in the 1800s, a decade or no, sorry, not not a decade, a century before Alan Turing and the whole like Turing machine and thing.
Hmm.
Um, and they're talking about how these people started like trying to come up with this whole like thinking machine pretty much that was what we basically call a computer but much more primitive. And they're like talking about it, and like they're having to write like letters back and forth, because there's these like experts that I think one of them's called like Anna Lovelace or something like that, and you know she's like writing this letter back and forth with these people. I can't remember the guy's name she was writing back and forth with, but point being is,
Ada
it,
Lovelace.
oh, that's right, that's it, Ada Lovelace, and
Oh, god damn. Her name is so cool. The Countess of Lovelace.
yeah, so that's what the guy called her.
Dude.
And she was like royalty, and she's just like this very strong, brilliant woman, when it comes to mathematics. And her dad, actually, who she never knew, was like this poet, and was just super
Holy
into like
shit. So,
poetry.
dude, it says that she's sometimes regarded as the first to recognize the full potential of a computing machine.
Yes, and so she starts talking about this whole idea of a computing machine, and was talking with someone, this lord, I don't remember his name, and he's like, they're writing letters back and forth, and anyway, she comes up with this whole idea of like this recursive function and all this, all these different ideas, and anyways, I think the book talks about how she's pretty much known as like the first programmer technically,
Why
and
the hell did we never hear about Ada?
I know, right? I mean, she's huge in this sense, but like her and the guy he's talking with, Lord Byron, I think is his name. Or no, Lord Byron was her dad? No, I can't remember exactly. But point being is,
It says Lovelace was the only legitimate child of the poet Lord Byron.
yes, that's right. So Lord Byron is her dad, and then she didn't know him, but he was like a poet, like I said, and
Hmm.
yeah, so
Politician.
she had this interesting like creativity slash mathematics, built into her, and interest, and her mom actually like forced her to be like a mathematician pretty much, instead of, getting into like poems, and
The
she didn't,
poetry. Because
yeah,
her father was
her to
really
get
into
into
that as
poetry.
well.
Exactly. She didn't want her to be like her dad, but she still had that creativity in her, and so she ended up like kind of combining the two and coming up with all these like theoretical ideas for the computing machine, and ended up using, like we today are still using a lot of these primitives that she came up with, like the recursive function and all that stuff. Well, the point being is I was trying to get around to was they were writing letters back and forth, and it's just like a slow way of communication, and she's like a century before the actual like Turing machine that would eventually start using these different ideas. But like, man, if you had to write letters back and forth, it's just so slow. Now we can just immediately contact anyone across the world, get in touch with experts. Like, it's insane.
Oh, man. Yeah.
There's so much potential for greatness.
Like Joe Rogan always says, he's like, there was a time when people had to write shit with feathers, and give
Yeah,
it to some dude on a horse who then would maybe make it to the destination. Oh,
exactly.
man. Yeah, like, that's insane. I was looking at her Ada's Wikipedia page, and I guess that it's sort of controversial, like whether she was really the first programmer or not. But the one thing that you cannot argue with was the fact that she was a prophet of the computer age. Like she
Yeah,
was, she
right.
wasn't the first. If she wasn't the first, she was one of the earliest adopters and one of the first to see the potential in them.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. I think a lot of like uh in the community, like it's she's used quite as like a figure for feminists, and there's quite a few others like
Dude, for good
Grace
reason,
Hopper and
man.
stuff. Oh yeah,
She's
she's
amazing.
amazing. I'm just saying that you'll probably hear her around those different communities and circles.
Nice.
Yeah.
Dude, now too, with the way that We have all these different means for distribution. You're seeing now that it's totally toppling and affecting like so many institutions. So you see like religions and corporations and governments all being like under attack essentially because of like the freedom of information. Before, these places used to consolidate information and give stuff very limited to people, and so it was knowledge was used as a form of power, and those that had knowledge had the power. That's why like things like the Bible were not available to everybody. You know, you had to go to a special school, and only these elites would be able to tell you exactly. And anybody that said differently was like put to death.
Common folk live better now than royalty did in earlier times, honestly. Like, when you think about that and you hear about it, it's like true, because you have like, right now we have air conditioning, the TV, what we were just barely mentioning.
At least
a car.
At least when it comes to comforts, you know. I think
luxuries.
When the luxuries. Going back to that video, that those people in the 1920, like, goddamn, dude, they were so mentally aware. And I'm thinking like they probably benefited, and I'm trying to think like, why were they so mentally aware? And there's so many factors, right? Like they probably were living in a way cleaner earth back then. So their environments may be better. They've got less shit probably in their food. All kinds of preservatives and chemicals, and they're also not on all kinds of prescription drugs. They're not like taking all kinds of opioids and God knows what else that's numbing them to existence. They're not inundated 24/7 by like crazy ass news stories and stories of people going into mosques and killing everybody. These are people that lived a much simpler form of existence. And
then again, they had to worry about people coming in and assassinating them.
100%. Totally. They had to also worry about shit like you'd say the wrong thing and somebody from the government would come and just pick them up and you'd never hear from them again.
Oh, I thought that still happens.
Oh, I guess it does in some countries. Totally. Not so much in the U.S. We give the U.S. we give the U.S. a lot of shit, but at the same time, like this is the one country where you can talk as much trash as you want about the government, and for the most part, you're safe. But point being, that was kind of a tangent. Point being, though, is that I think that some of the costs is that while we have way more luxuries here, I think in a lot of ways we've lost touch of reality itself.
We're going to the virtual world, bro.
Yeah.
VR.
Like we're almost creating this schism with reality where we're entering in the Black Mirror universe. In fact, I think that that's one of the best things about Black Mirror is that every single Black Mirror episode has like a distinct feeling. It's like when you're watching it, it feels like the real world, except almost slightly slanted, like a broken mirror, totally. You know? And it's like you're looking through it in like this slightly distorted view, and it's almost showing sort of like the path that we're heading towards as we continue down this path, you know, of just innovation, and trying to improve our quality of existence. It's like in doing so, we kind of are transforming into this new thing. Same with if somebody came to you and said like, I can turn you into a vampire today. In fact, right now, but it's a one-way ticket and you can't ever go back. Like, what's your thought process there? Do you do it or don't you do it? I'm asking you.
I know. I was thinking.
Sorry.
What are the consequences of turning into a vampire? Or is it like the theatrical, like you can't go in the sun in the classic?
Exactly.
Vampire?
Mm-hmm.
Nah, man, I wouldn't do that. Why would I want to be a vampire? Are you kidding me?
Well, here's the thing: is that like we have this general idea of what a vampire might be, right? And someone might posit sort of like you just did, like, well, what are some of the advantages of being a vampire, like and some of the disadvantages, like I might not be able to go outside, so like that would blow unless I'm like one of those like Blade vampires. If I was Blade and I was a day walker, like that'd be pretty badass, you know, like because then you've got all this like crazy ass strength, and you're able to go out and you're able to live for very long time. So you have like an extended life. I think Dracula doesn't even die. He's immortal. Some of the cons though is that you've got to feast off of other people. Like that's kind of, I don't know, it's not the most honorable form of existence.
No, some nasty ass ears usually.
Yes.
Don't look good.
You also can't really get attached to too many people because they're going to always be dying. That's like that shitty movie Twilight. You got those people that are just out there like constantly moving like school to school because
that's right.
They also don't want to get caught. So like the whole point was that you can kind of imagine in your head what being a vampire might be like, but ultimately you really don't know what you're going to be gaining. But more importantly, you don't really know what you're going to be losing. You're going to be transformed into something completely different. And so the point is that as a civilization right now, we are marching towards the inevitable technological like fusion and this world that is ever increasingly becoming Black Mirror-ish. And we're transforming into this new thing, but we don't really know what we're going to be gaining. We have a kind of an idea, but we also don't really know what we're going to be losing. Just like those old people in the 1929s, if they were to look at our day today, I bet they would think this is the Black Mirror existence, that we're already in it. They'd look at us and be like, God damn it, like we gotta kill ourselves right now. If that's gonna be the future, we just need to end it right. There's no more people. like that's a dystopian future.
Symbiosis, dude.
Yes, exactly.
We're in the cloud, man. Like, listen, here's the thing. Imagine being in the Industrial Revolution, you know, when people all of a sudden like inventing everything, creating all these new things, you know, we're talking like crucial things that we come to get be used to, like toilet paper, or things like the Industrial Revolution came up with a lot of different things, right? Like we're talking like, that's like when Ford, the vehicles, and just like lots of different things. Like the fact that it's just transformed so much in that short period of time. We're in the same thing, like this past few decades, the internet, computers, phones, like everything is just insane. It's just like it, technological revolution.
Yeah. The way I describe it is the internet turned the lights on.
Yeah.
It's as if all around the globe, it just started illuminating existence in those different parts of the world. And now that the lights are shining all over, we're able to kind of see the state for the first time that the world is in. And it's like, holy shit. Like a lot of y'all are in a lot of pain, and it's a little terrifying,
It's super terrifying when you learn about like just barely how there's this huge heat wave going on. I don't know if you know about this. There's a huge heat wave going on in like India and crap. And no joke, just like 184 people just died because of this heat wave. And it's been like the longest, I don't know if it's the longest or third longest record of this heat wave. And like people are dying because of it, shortage of water, droughts. And it's like, holy crap, like how would I have known that, here across the country?
Yes.
You wouldn't have, and you wouldn't have realized all these different extremes and things that people are dealing with. And it kind of makes you feel either, one may feel grateful or one may be afraid of what's going to happen to you, like, oh no, where we live, maybe we're going to have some crazy snow. I don't know, like,
yes,
just all of a sudden it's going to keep snowing, or we're in a desert. So maybe we just have a drought like them one day. I don't know.
That's terrifying. Yeah. when you see everybody out taking care of their lawns, and they're just like their whole lawn looks like a tropical forest or something. You're like, we're living in a goddamn desert. What are you guys doing? Like, this is so wasteful.
Yeah.
Oh
dude.
man, like one day it is gonna run out, huh? And that's
It's gonna run
terrifying.
out. I was
I
terrified.
when you look around and you see the state, can be emotionally devastating. Seeing so many people dying from things that often feel
Yeah.
avoidable.
And dude,
And
and like,
go ahead.
go ahead. Okay, I was gonna say, well, just like you were saying about like, you like see your neighbor doing that, just like that happened in India. People pretty much started like freaking out and then having fights, and then like that led to people like dying, being like killed, getting killed and stabbed and stuff
Oh no.
because of the drought and heat wave and all this. Because it's like,
Well, yeah, people get
you turn into
desperate, dude.
Armageddon. You turn into Armageddon. You know, we
Totally.
feel like that shit's not real, but or just movies, but like, dude, that's real. That's real life. Once you get down
Yeah.
to that.
Yeah, I mean, once
Scary.
once you start threatening people's basic survival, things get scrappy. And the truth is that we live in a much more fragile state than we like to think about. And I think that that's more than anything what has been so illuminating with this whole information revolution. And when you see all the things that's going on, it can be pretty overwhelming. But you're getting more people that are interested in helping than ever before. You know what I mean?
That's a great point.
And so now that we're able to shine a light on all these problems, we're able to address them. Things aren't being done in obscurity anymore, in secrets. And
Right.
And that's powerful, because now you've got governments that are more in check. It's so goddamn hard to sell a country into war now. You see you see our government just trying their damnedest to try and get us to go and kill the Venezuelans and to go and kill the Iranians. It's like, of course they always make it seem like we're the liberators, that we're spreading our freedom and we're going to make the world a better place, but we never do. And this whole information age has made that so much more obvious. It's so hard to control the flow of information, and because we're now getting like the raw, unprocessed data.
Yeah, totally.
That's all unfiltered. Obviously, it's filtering through some source, but we're getting closer to the bare metal, to where you're seeing videos and footage, and then you're interpreting it, and then people are reacting instantly. And that in a way it's super, super powerful, but it can also be overwhelming, because now it's like, there was a time when you only used to care about like your family and your neighborhood.
Yeah, you go
And
to
now-
work, come home, you know.
Now you're talking about people that are dying from heat strokes and killing each other for water and shit, on the other side of the
Yeah.
world. And
Yeah,
we're
totally.
aware of all that suffering. And sometimes the suffering is too great. And when you see all these people that are in so much suffering, and then you see like, at the same time, you've gotten so much information that you've also lost a lot of trust in religions. We're seeing like a crisis of faith and of meaning at this point. You're seeing so many people that are now almost losing faith in everything. Faith in their gods, faith in their countries, faith in humanity. It's like everyone not everybody, but many have this feeling like we're marching like goddamn lemmings towards our inevitable cliff, and we're all just gonna walk off into the abyss.
Yeah, there's a lot more information and more people have to bear it than ever before, instead of just having, say, the government or whatever deal with the wars. Now it's like all of us are dealing with it and all that kind of stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's heavy. Like
It
you said,
is.
we're seeing a lot more I think a lot more, right, of depression and anxiety and just
Totally.
people losing hope and that kind of stuff, right?
And I think it's all sort of related. You're getting just so much pumped with information that people are getting overwhelmed with existence. You're like, there is a million ways apparently to live a life. And there's like, you used to be born, dude. You would be born in some area, and whatever family you were born into, let's say they're Protestant or Catholic or Hindu or whatever, it's like that's what you're taught, and you're taught that this is the way to live a great life, and you listen to your governments, and you fight the wars they say, and you do whatever, you try and live an honorable life, and you die. It's like now you're seeing that there's so many ways to live a life. Like there's so many different cultures than ours. So people have radically different ideas when it comes to like God. There's just so much information, and so I think a lot of people are left to fall to themselves, to where they're like, oh crap, I need to make my own meaning. I got to find my own purpose. I got to get my own shit together. And that's a weight that's like too heavy to bear. I think it's just crushing people because they've got nothing that really inspires hope in them. Nothing that like shows them like, gives them good reason to really like strive to be better and to want to create a better world. I can't remember who said it. It was one of our presidents. Like they were joking that what we really need is like an alien invasion. Because
what?
An alien invasion, because nothing unites people more than times of war. And
Right.
Nothing would unite humanity more than a
That's an
crisis
interesting idea.
that's extraterrestrial, right?
Like a global crisis.
If it's a global crisis, then humanity has to come as one to overcome that. And so some people even theorize that the aliens were created by our governments, that it's all fake. It's all just the CIA trying to spread shit to kind of keep people afraid, but also to, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
As a form of control. I don't know. That's kind of like a weird ass tangent, but my point is that I think we need something to unite us, and it's really hard because we're so divided. Everybody's got their own ideas, and everybody thinks that they're right.
I'm concerned even if we were to have something like that, we wouldn't even be united. You know, you see things that are definitely still global concerns like global warming, yet we're still not doing as hard of a push towards trying to
That's a good point.
Unite, so
global warming is in a way like the extraterrestrial threat that should theoretically unite everybody. But then you got to ask yourself, why then is it not? Like, what is it about environmentalism that's so off-putting to many people? Because there are a lot of people that aren't on board. I think it has to do with our needless desire for consumption. Like nobody actually wants to do what's necessary to not harm the planet more than we already have. And there's also this feeling of defeatism, and also like I'm just one person. What difference can I make? There's people that are far worse than me, and so I'm just gonna keep doing my thing. I think there's definitely a lot of that.
Yeah, totally.
Anyway, dude. Well, this was a lot of fun.